Put your red shirt on and a brown coat too. Everybody's joining the crew. We got just one drink that we rule them all. Cookie fruit, remember your town. Get your Lulu feathers and your Middle-earth gun. A sonic screwdriver or a sword plus one. Usually wins you if it will get you to come. To the big tent. To the big tent. The Rocky Mountain big tent.
Hi, I'm Guy,
Hi, I'm Troy,
and this is Geek Tank Not Live.
your pre-recorded size podcast.
So we're trying a new thing here, and I noticed that our little title screen says live. We'll have to probably cut that.
It lies.
Because it's lying to everybody, because this is not live. So if you're posting over here in the chat room.
You know, that does bring up a thing, though. I've noticed, like, on news programs and stuff, they'll say live when they're not live. It's like the definition of live has changed to a degree. Like, you and I, live means happening right this moment as we're watching it. But I've noticed there's things that are technically pre-recorded and airing. And
So
what they mean to say is it's unedited.
Oh,
so
well, that's us all the time. Even this will be unedited. We'll edit that out later.
That means we're always live.
We're always live.
So we are changing our schedule around in order to accommodate, hopefully, getting Chelsea back into the show is the plan. Of course, this week it did not work out, but don't let that discourage you from the plan.
Well, this week it didn't work out intentionally, though. I mean, she has a reason. So we got to bring that up, too.
Oh, yeah, that's the other thing I meant to put on my notes. So I'm glad that it happened. She's doing a thing, the Kickstarter that just started today. Well, not today because this is pre-recorded. Today being Tuesday the 19th, Wednesday the 19th, Tuesday the 19th.
So 2 days ago.
Yep. And so I'm assuming it's like most Kickstarters that last for a month. So you've still got time to look into it. But it's taking the Pathfinder role-playing game world and putting all of the lore and such and the characters into the Savage Worlds role-playing system. So
that's kind of a big deal.
Yeah, GURPS did that with like Vampire and the Masquerade and some other stuff. And I always thought it was interesting that game systems will say like, hey, let me take your IP and put it into my system. And it's because I guess there's some people who are like, this is the system I play in, that's all I want to play. But I would like to play in that IP, but not with their system. I guess it happens enough that people decide to do that. So if you're a Savage Worlds fan and you've been wanting to try out Pathfinder without buying all the Pathfinder books, now you can buy the Savage World Pathfinder books.
Savage Finder or Pathworlds.
That sounds like a book series, Pathworlds.
Yep.
But that's Chelsea's been like super uber into that as part of that team, and so they, she's the glue that holds it together. The way that she's the glue that holds Geek Tank together, and that's why Geek Tank has been falling apart. So there you go.
So there's that,
and
we will now fall apart. Flesh wound. So yeah, the other thing is we're going to be talking about today's show is about WandaVision, which is a new Marvel Universe production that's come out. And Chelsea is actually going to conscientiously object to this show. And I'm actually not joking about this. She really
not to the show, our show, but to Disney. She's
she's conscientiously objecting to this show because she feels like reasonably so
IP
that when we talk about this stuff, we are effectively advertising for it. And she does not wish to advertise for Disney. She's very against Disney right now.
But she's okay with us doing it.
She's secretly sneaking up on us to kill us right now, even as we speak. But that may not happen before the show's over, so all's good. But yeah, so it's important. I wanted to say I like the idea that she's objecting. I think that's cool, even though she's objecting to being on the show today. I think it's really nifty of her to vote with her dollar, and that's what we should all be doing. And So she is right now putting in a vote against advertising for Disney, which we are technically advertising for Disney, although we're not obviously advertising for Disney. Does that make any sense?
I guess. There may be some people out there going, why is she against Disney? Because they've been living under a rock, or they don't know about all of the controversy related to Disney recently. And a big part of that's with Mulan, the live action release. And instead of going into all the details, I'm hoping you know how to use Google. You could just do a search on Google and look up Disney Mulan controversy and probably find all of the stuff you possibly.
I was going to say, she's got a list.
Yeah.
She has and it's a pretty rough list.
So
that's a bummer because I actually I like the animated Mulan.
Mhm.
It's one of my favorites, and I was looking forward to Mulan. And because of all the controversy, I did wait until it came out on Disney Plus for free.
Right, because originally it released, but you had to pay an additional $30, I think it was, to get to see it on top of the Disney Plus weekly thing. And I've actually had Disney Plus twice now because I had it for 1 month and watched the entire first season of Mandalorian and then dropped it. And then when the second season of Mandalorian was completed and out, we got it again so we could watch the entire season of that. And so while we're winding down through the rest of the 1 month period, because it's like $7 a month, so we get it just maybe once or twice a year is what it's going to look like. Within 1 month, we can watch everything that we're interested in. So we're not constantly feeding the Disney machine, but it's like tipping them, I guess. Tipping them out.
And the Disney machine's eating up everything.
Well, it owns Marvel and it owns Star Wars, so it's kind of those are two pretty big geekdoms in my world. So.
Yeah, they're pretty big, and we were just mentioning that they'll be bringing up Muppets soon too.
Yeah, they're going to get all 5 seasons of the original Muppets, so you could go back and watch Alice Cooper as a guest and stuff. So it's definitely going to be binging those.
Yeah, I think I'll be binging that too. I mean, it's the Muppet Show. So that's and I think there's a few other Disney issues that were happening too. And I'm trying to, besides Mulan, I believe part of it was the Star Wars thing with Alan Dean Foster, which I don't know if I haven't heard anything new about that situation, but I know that they were being not very kind to him and his creations and paying him. Right.
So she has very good, valid reasons.
Yeah, she has absolutely good reasons to. She's protesting because of Mulan. She's protesting because of ADF, and she's protesting because of like Kelly Tron and some of the other characters of Star Wars being bashed and Disney not doing anything about it. So there's enough bad blood there that it should be noted that we should spend some time addressing why you do not see Chelsea here.
I think
on the flip side, Geek Tank can't not report about this stuff. So
right.
So what we've decided to do is when it's something that one of us feels very strongly about protesting, then we'll let the others report about it, and then we will abstain from that show. And I was like, I think that's a great policy. I think that's going to be a lot of that allows us to make a statement that one of us doesn't like. For example, if you guys ever do Assassin's Creed, I'll just abstain from that show because I'm not fond of any game that doesn't allow you to play as a female.
And there may be times where it's something that someone disagrees with enough that they still want to be the voice to speak out against it. And
sure,
they might be here depending on how much.
We have the option to be able to abstain. That'd be really.
We don't want to lose Chelsea complaining about EA in person.
Right. I mean, that's a structure here.
Yeah,
that is what do we call it? It's an institution of Geek Tank.
Mm-hmm.
It's her getting on EA and ranting. So it's definitely a Geek Tank institution. So,
and supposedly they're doing a open world Star Wars game, so it'll be interesting to see how that goes.
I thought we already had that with Knights of the Old Republic.
I think this is open world multi-online player. Was Knights of the Old Republic multiplayer.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I thought. Yeah, well,
Uh,
I would say, what do you think, Motor Pool? But there's no Motor Pool.
but you can say it, and depending
What do you
on
think, Motor Pool?
well, if one of us is in the comments, or you could post it because it shows up as a message in Facebook, then we could respond. It will just be more like carrier pigeon communication.
Yeah, we have to carrier pigeon it back to ourselves in the past.
'Cause,
Huh. Look at this. That's amazing. Okay.
we post-it noted.
Well, if you're going to send things to me in the past, you got to send it via post-it note. I live
Right.
on post-it notes. So, tis
So
the way.
yeah, just to follow up on that, 6 days ago, this information was released. Oh, I'm sorry, I said EA. It's Ubisoft, which I think she has a problem with.
Almost
Well,
as much of an institution of her yelling at Ubisoft.
yeah. So correction, Ubisoft is releasing a massive open world Star Wars game. So it's so we'll see how they do.
I'm curious how that'll come out.
Yeah, it's just, I'm not really a fan of the monthly fee games because I don't play enough to feel like I'm getting my money's worth. So if it's one of those where you have to pay monthly to get to play it, I'm probably not going to be involved in it. But it will be, I'm sure, depending on Chelsea's opinion of Ubisoft at the time, she might give it a shot and we can see how it goes.
I was going to say we can let, well, generally it's how it works with games anyway, is we put her in the front line. Mm-hmm. She's the one who's the most experienced. She's the one who's the most qualified. And she's the one likely to tell us exactly how she felt about it.
Right.
So she's ideal. We'll just stick her in the way and then just see what she says.
Mm-hmm. Well, should we move on to WandaVision?
WandaVision. So
a 30-minute long TV series based in the Marvel universe, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, starring Wanda, the Witch, the Red Witch, and Vision. Oh, Scarlet Witch, yeah. Scarlet, Red, Rosie, the Rosie Witch.
The Rosie the Riveter Witch.
Yes. What to think about it? It's
so let's give a non-spoiler review of what you thought first, because then we can go into spoilers and we can say, and if you haven't seen it, turn it off now.
Are there really spoilers? Because it doesn't answer many questions in the first 2 episodes.
Well, I have some theories.
Well, theories are theories, but so we'll do theory spoilers.
Theories that involve parts of the show, so
we'll do theory spoilers then at the end.
Spoilers or spearies.
Spearies, yeah, that's what you stab people with. So it's probably, as a friend of mine had said, it's some of the best Bewitched episodes you've ever seen.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's like it's Bewitched.
If you take Dick Van Dyke, I Love Lucy, Bewitched, lump them all together, throw in a little bit of Marvel IP, then you've got it.
It's very intriguing. So the principal concept behind this is it is Scarlet Witch and Vision in a 1955 TV show. That's the concept behind it. It's all in black and white for the most part. And both episodes center around sort of the classic plot-driven sort of weird plots that you got from Bewitched or I Love Lucy or those kind of things. A case in point would be somebody or the boss is coming over for dinner and we need to prepare for dinner and it's going to be funny. Mm-hmm. And then the comedy plot is that the boss comes over expecting to fire Vision, and then in the end, because of the way things worked out, he ends up thinking the Vision's the best person ever. Yada yada yada.
Isn't that a spoiler? I'm just kidding.
That kind of setup,
right? It's the classic sitcom of there's a miscommunication, and oh boy, hijinks ensues because someone misunderstood someone else.
Right. I do find some fascinating aspects of the show, and I'll get into that when we get into the spoilers territory. Because I've noticed that a lot of people are doing the huh? And I actually think I'm catching on
Mhm.
to what they're doing. They are. There was a movie that was called Pleasantville.
Yep.
This I am seeing is echoing Pleasantville quite explicitly, and well done too. But I see they're heading to the same. That's the same zone. It's just instead of random characters, we're using already existing IP characters. But I have a very strong feeling that's where we're headed. So let's go on ahead and start talking about it in depth.
Mhm.
If you haven't seen WandaVision, go watch it now. Just pause the show or whatever, since it's pre-recorded. We're not going anywhere. It's one whole hour to catch up with us.
Right.
So go watch
And
the first 2 episodes and come back.
And if you don't have Disney Plus yet and you plan on getting it at some point, you can decide if you want to or not. I will preface it by saying they're not big spoilers because there's no huge things that happen.
This is going to be us speculating.
Yeah, it's
But if you do want Disney Plus, you can use my password at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right.
Mhm. Well, you do get a free month you get a first month free.
Right. First month's free. Like first hits for free.
Yeah, just remember to cancel it so they don't automatically charge your card again.
Anytime. Yeah.
All right. So
okay, so
in 3, 2, 1, there.
There we go. Here's our spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
But I know you haven't played Fallout 3, but I know Mariah does. Have you watched her play Fallout 3?
A little bit.
There's a mission that is unavoidable in the game that you come up to later down the road called Tranquility Lane. And it's where your character has to get into a VR simulator type thing. And you end up going to Leave It to Beaver style neighborhood, and you're playing as a little kid, and you're having to go around and complete all these tasks in this sort of Leave It to Beaver style thing. And so this WandaVision reminded me a little bit of that. So anyone who's played Fallout 3 probably knows what I'm talking about.
So
it sounds like
now that
my
we're in
friends
spoilers territory,
who run,
episode 1 is
Salesforce basically, and people
has
will
sort of
put custom modifications into
plot point
Salesforce that will
of
break Salesforce, and they're like,
Vision and Wanda have to figure out how to deal with this dinner date. And in the end, the solution is to do something that wouldn't have happened in the show. So it wouldn't have happened in a 1955 sitcom.
Right.
It
breaks its fourth wall of
right. That's what's really interesting, is that things are happening in the show that keep breaking the fourth wall of its own fourth wall, not our fourth wall.
Correct. They're not turning to the camera and talking to the audience, but they're breaking out of the genre, and it's pulling them out of.
Noticing that when they do, there's interesting things that are happening, which, for one, is the obvious. There's color introduced every time something that breaks the fourth wall occurs. You end up with a color item, one item that's in color. Find that extraordinarily fascinating. But the other thing that's happening when they break the fourth wall is they move from their 2-up camera setup to something more modern. Like, for example, they keep hearing thumping outside. The thumping is breaking the fourth wall. So that's something else occurring outside of the universe that they're in. So when I say 2-up camera setup,
I was about to say, you should probably explain that for people who don't know.
Yeah. When I talk about 2-up camera setup, that's an old term for the television setups where they had the huge cameras that were on wheels. You couldn't move them. It required 3 or 4 people to move them. And the camera would shake the entire time. So there really wasn't anything they could do except for dolly forward and dolly back. But there was no panning. Panning was later on when we got cranes and things like that. So the show is shot in 2-up camera setup, where it's, one, then the other, then the other, then the other, then the other. And then that way, when the camera is off of that person, they can move the camera to another position. And then that way it's done. That's the way old television used to be done. Well, in this instance, we've got, like, in an episode, they've got the sound that's coming from outside. Vision decides to finally go outside in the front yard. When he does, I notice that the camera is panning to follow Vision as he's walking down the street. That's breaking the pattern of a two-up camera setup from the old TV series. And I find that fascinating. I see that happen a number of other times too, where as soon as they're starting to kind of break the pattern, the camera movements start becoming modern. And it's, if nothing else, as a person who loves to study old television anyway, and just loves to study the style of television and how we used to do stuff, and that stuff fascinates me all the time, I am very intrigued with the detail that they're paying to this. They don't break that camera setup until they're breaking the fourth wall.
This is one of the big reasons that I suggested to you that you should watch a few episodes of the TV series Fargo, because they do some amazing camera work in that.
I've been meaning to. It's on my list.
Yeah,
I have nothing against Fargo. I have a lot against Breaking Bad. I don't have anything against Fargo.
Well, they didn't start doing interesting camera work, in my opinion, in Breaking Bad until like second and third season, where they started doing stuff like attaching the GoPro to the back of the shovel. So while the guy's walking, you're getting the angle from his shovel and it's bouncing, so you know it's a GoPro attached to it. So it's so they do some really interesting stuff later on. But Fargo actually uses the angles and the stuff as part of the storytelling.
Yeah, I have always loved really amazing storytelling by DP.
Mm-hmm.
You know, using your DP to tell a story as well. DP is director of photography.
Yeah, get your mind out of the gutter there, people.
Right. But when you get the person who's in charge of the camera and say, tell part of this story too, that's so cool to me. When the cameraman's in there and actually telling part of the story, that's neat. I think part of it is that it feels more like a team effort.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can always get somebody to just push record on the camera and make sure that it's lined up on somebody. But when you're all in there together and the cameraman's like, you know, what'd be great is if we were to do this. You know what I mean? I could convey this thought by doing this or moving this way, or sticking the camera on the shovel, or, you know, convey part of the story.
Yeah.
And that's cool to me.
So I'm going to get a little more into spoiler territory, because this is a group that I didn't know about originally. And they, I guess, were introduced in one of the Marvel movies, but I missed it. And it's part of the comic introduced by, I think it was Joss Whedon, was the writer who introduced this group into the comic MCU. Or it wouldn't be cinematic, it'd be the Marvel comic. Well, I guess it'd be still MCU, Marvel comic universe. But the organization SWORD, which is the juxtaposed to SHIELD. So SHIELD and SWORD. And they kept pretty much the same name, which is, I had it here a second ago and then totally lost it. But they were keeping that same anagram type thing.
Weapons, operational.
Yeah, I believe
reconnaissance.
The D got changed from the comic to the show, from like department to division. So it's one of those things.
But that is still one of my favorite lines from SHIELD, the television series, is when
they need a shorter name.
When Agent Coulson's talking to Skye and says, "Do you know what SHIELD stands for?" And she's like, "No." And he's like, "Strategic Homeland, blah blah blah." And do you know what that means? And she goes, "Means you guys are trying to figure out how to spell out SHIELD."
Yeah,
it's just like, it's such a wonderful one-liner. Now, I adore Skye, the character Skye, like a whole lot, because she's just snarky. So she was loaded up with a whole bunch of snark right off the bat.
I haven't checked, but I'm guessing all of the SHIELD episodes moved over to Disney. But I haven't actually looked at that yet.
Yeah, all the SHIELD episodes, what?
All the SHIELD episodes probably have moved over to Disney Plus. I think at one time they were on Netflix, and I don't know if they're still there.
I think they're still on Netflix. I thought they were still on Netflix.
Um,
I just work here.
there we go. Sentient World Observation and Response Department. Which department got changed to division? Yeah, sword. They're trying to figure out how to spell sword. That's what they're doing. But they are involved in some way in what's going on with the TV series, and that's you don't have to look too hard to find that when they give you the clue. They give it right up to you in your face. What I was trying to figure out was if the color choice of red and yellow for the first time you see something in color was because of Iron Man. If those
I
colors
thought it was Iron Man too.
Yeah.
Well, and we've got a number of hints that Avengers are dealing with something in here. We've got, I mean, we're getting, it is super creepy, and I really like it because it's my kind of creepy. It's not jump scares. It's just
Right.
messing with your brain. That's the stuff I love. I love that stuff. That's why I get so mad at people who keep insisting on making movies that mess with your brain and have jump scares. I'm like, really?
They're trying to hit all the target audience. The whole audience is a target. Yeah,
Yeah, but Walking Dead did a really good job for many, many seasons of not doing jump scares and just messing with your brain, which I really appreciated. Thanks, Walking Dead.
You are so far behind that show now because there's like 3 spinoffs you haven't seen.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen anything since Sasha left. Really, pretty much. I'm still in the middle of the war with what's his name? With Lucille.
Yeah, Negan.
Yeah.
And King Ezekiel, who looks like Alex.
And King Ezekiel, who looks
I guess
like
he acts more like Alex, but
yeah, I was gonna say he acts like Alex more than he looks like Alex.
Right.
But Alex could cosplay him, and it would be a phenomenal cosplay. I've just decided because he'd act the same.
And he needs to get a little beanie baby tiger.
Right, that'd be great.
So, but rolling back to Marvel.
Oh yeah, Marvel.
What's not happening, which is back before I saw any episodes, I was kind of wondering if it was going to go this way, but it's not. Was that all of this was Loki's doing? Because it seems entirely, when I heard the premise that they're trapped in a sitcom black and white world, I'm like, well, that's totally something Loki would do to somebody. But that's not what's happening.
I feel like this is Scarlet Witch's doing. That's my prediction.
You think it's related?
She put herself there.
Maybe to avoid when Thanos.
To avoid something. And I think that Vision's not aware. And I think that maybe even to some degree, Scarlet Witch is not aware. Like she's doing it subconsciously, or this is an outgrowth of her power, or something's going on here that I feel like this is somehow Scarlet Witch. Is she? It's kind of like she's in trauma, and it may be that she's in trauma. Spoilers for Endgame. She may be in trauma or something like that, but I feel like there are a number of hints in here that things are going on, like she's pregnant and suddenly pregnant, and yada yada yada, and they're talking about babies and things like that. I feel like something is happening here, like she's in trauma, or she's retreating from reality, or I don't even know what the beekeeper is all about. Although that was really freaky and well done. That was a very freaky and interesting. And again, the lighting was very dramatic and very modern, and the camera's panning and moving. And again, you were out of the sitcom in that moment, and it was really well done.
I was just scrolling through because I actually don't have a memory of when Thanos does his thing, which specific characters were part of the 50%.
It wasn't. This is one of the stones.
Well, yeah, he was gone to get the stone. We had to lose him
to kill Vision to get the stone.
But was Wanda one of the ones who
Nope,
departicularized? Okay. I'm having not remembering that because had that happened, then this could have been playing out during that time.
No, she survived because she was part of the. She was one of the only people who could fight Thanos. The only one powerful enough to fight Thanos. Her and Marvel or Captain Marvel.
Actually, what I'm finding out is Wanda, who had been disintegrated by Thanos' snap in Avengers.
Maybe it was Wanda. She was
Infinity
disintegrated.
War,
So
and
she must have come back.
yeah, she's restored leading into Endgame's climactic battle. So somehow they restored her before that.
Yeah, must have restored.
I
her.
should have boned up on that one. But my guess was somehow it's connected to that event.
Well, maybe it is.
But who knows? Well, that's part of their mystery. I know that I'm not invested enough in the aspect of Marvel that they can do very much to make me disappointed in it.
Yeah,
They can go pretty much any way with it.
That's where I am with most franchises except Star Trek. Although I'm trying very hard to do that with Star Trek.
So I thought I heard a whale.
Oh,
Oh, okay. I know what that is. That's
Is
just
it
a
a whale?
whale. It's a whale. We have to save them. Time
could
travel.
be a
with them.
Goramander. Doesn't matter.
Mhm.
Goramander apparently is the running gag for Discovery these days. So, space whale.
So they had to upgrade from trilobite or troglodyte, whatever. Big flying bug. Wasn't that it? Troglodyte?
What are you talking about?
I got the wrong thing. In Discovery Season 1, the big flying thing that gets teleported into the ship, the big bug.
Yeah, it's a Goramander.
It's Goramander. Okay. But it looks like a trilobite, right?
Trilobite. Oh, are you talking about the
Troglodyte?
tardigrade?
Tardigrade. That's what I was trying to word.
Oh, yeah, no, there was a Goramander in the first season. It shows up again in third season. So clearly we're having, and then they referenced it in second season. So we're having Goramander all over the place going.
Yeah, and Ant-Man, when he's shrinking down, he goes past some Goramanders.
Right. So there's that.
So, but yeah, they it seems the pattern is to end the episode with a little bit of a piece of clue as to what's going on. So the 2 episodes we have, you get your little clue at the end, and you get tinier little clues throughout the episode. So it is
really cool. I'm fascinated by what they're doing. I can see people being very confused by it.
Oh yeah, I would not recommend this to certain people that I know.
Yeah, I get the feeling that if you don't know what they're up to, you're going to find this to be very disturbing.
And if you have no idea who the characters are, you stumble across it, you might make the mistake of thinking, "Oh, this is a cool sitcom. Oh, why did this weird thing just happen now?"
Yes.
But it's
I can't imagine people dropping in the middle of this show and thinking it was Bewitched. You know what I mean?
Well, they didn't copy the graininess. They got the black and white, but they don't have the graininess. So it's clearly.
We were filming in the very beginning. It could have been a video because we were filming on video early on as well.
Or there's some texture there that's not quite right. They didn't go for the exact match.
Right. You would be tipped off. You're right.
Mm-hmm. Which is fine. It doesn't need to look exactly like it because part of it is it needs to be imperfect to give the clues to them because there's some kind of
something's going
brainwashed aspect that's gone. Did you ever finish the Watchmen TV series?
No, I didn't. It's on my to-do list now because now I actually have HBO.
If we can schedule it, we should watch it together because I love that show.
I actually wouldn't mind. I'm watching Westworld as well. The problem is now that I've got HBO, I've got to watch Westworld. Now I've got The Expanse, which came out, and Expanse usually jumps all cues because it's The Expanse and I love The Expanse. But
It's
I
on my
did
list
want
of
to
mine.
finish, and I did finish Man in the High Castle. So that I cleared, which a lot of people didn't like fourth season of Man in the High Castle, and I really did like it. So I don't know what that means. I don't know. There was a lot of grumping about fourth season going downhill, and I'm like, I don't know. Feels like they were gunning from day one on this, you know. If ever there was and apparently, by the way, and I know we're digressing, apparently that's much better than the actual book. I've never read the book. But apparently in the book, the end of the book, spoilers, the end of the book is that it's a book.
Well, don't
And
give
the
away
characters
the
figure it out.
spoiler for the TV show, though.
Yeah.
You give the spoiler away for the book, and you can say that's not the spoiler for the end of the TV show.
Right. That was, and I was kind of concerned because everybody was doing the fourth season sucked. That the end of fourth season would be like, have you noticed that we're all in a television show? You know, or something like that. And I'd be like, yeah, I could see that. But that's not the way they ended it.
Huh.
It all stayed inside the story, and it all worked really well, and I liked it. I thought it was cool. I could see because the ending does seem to leave it almost like it needed an extra 5 minutes. Like it ended 5 minutes early. So I could see people feeling a little unsatisfied because it didn't answer one question. They were like, we're going to answer a question. Bye. End credits.
It just cuts to The Sopranos, and then it goes black.
Right. I could see that being uncomfortable for people, and I get that. But for me, I was like, yeah, if I was fine. It was good.
Yeah. But there's something that happens that's slightly similar in Watchmen series that I could relate to what's happening with WandaVision. Not a lot, but somewhat. But it's still highly recommend that show. Interesting thing with Westworld. Westworld season 3 is probably some of the best cyberpunk fiction I've seen. It's like its own
2 still,
yeah.
And
when you get to 3, it's it's not a totally different show, but it's different enough that it's like it's still cool. It's really fun to watch, but it shifts gears.
I'm looking forward to Westworld season 3. I'm looking because I can see where they're gunning now. I'm in the middle of season 2. I can kind of see where they're gunning, and I think that's cool.
Yeah,
because they're doing here's the outside world, and the outside world looks a little bit more advanced than what we've got now. So I'm like, the outside world is like 50 years from now, 100 years from now, sort of thing. So I can tell where they're gunning in season 3. I can kind of get that.
Yeah.
Clearly, we're going to be cyberpunky. It's going to be kind of cool.
Expanse is on my list. Haven't watched that yet, but it's been recommended by a lot of people. Just a matter of finding time.
Well, yeah, Expanse is jumping the queue. I won't finish Westworld until I watch Expanse.
Which reminds me, the reason it came up too is someone bought a board game for the Expanse, and they really liked it. And they said I was asking how's the feel of the theme, and they said it matches the TV show pretty well. So, which is important where I think when a gay board game picks up an IP, that they don't just run with it and do their own thing, that they somehow
this is the Expanse Monopoly game.
Right. Oh, you've bought the spaceship, all 3 spaceships. So now you get to have a monopoly on it.
Okay.
But I think one of the big reasons we're rabbit holing is because we only have less than 60 minutes of WandaVision that we've watched. There's only so much we can go into without reenacting the show.
I was going to say, we could line by line here WandaVision and still be inside our hour.
Right.
So
I think it's funny enough as a sitcom in that it's like watching an old episode of a sitcom. And if you don't like old sitcoms, that'll probably bother you. It's slow in revealing whatever the mystery is going on. So if you might feel the pacing's too slow if you're not into watching something play out.
Right.
So that it does have those things that could go against it. What I think is worth watching it for, if you disregard all the Marvel aspects of it, is the performance by Vision, the actor that plays Vision. because you don't see him really being comical in the Avengers series.
No.
But he has clearly really good comic timing, good physical maneuvering with his body and such. I'm quickly looking up the actor because I don't know his name, and that's bothering me.
Yeah, I
Paul
know.
Bettany. Paul Bettany.
Vision or Wanda is Elizabeth Olsen.
Yes, because I always pretend she's one of the Olsen twins.
Okay, good. She's not one of the Olsen twins then.
I don't think so, but I could be wrong. I'll look it up real quick now. Elizabeth Olsen. Maybe she is. I don't know.
I was going to say, wouldn't.
That would explain why I can remember. Yep, Elizabeth Olsen, Mary Kate. She is the younger sister of twins Mary Kate and Ashley. So she's not one of the twins, but she is in that family. So there you go. So I was
That
remembering
makes her way younger.
than
I
you
feel
expect.
very old all of a sudden.
We are old. This is how it is.
But still.
Mhm.
Because, I mean, I remember the twins were babies in the 80s. So she's younger than the twins.
Mhm. So,
Oh, well. Anyway. It's cool. She's still an awesome Scarlet Witch, but
Mhm.
I'm like,
So 1989. Yeah, she was born in 1989.
great.
There you go.
Technically speaking, she could be our kid, technically.
Right.
On a technicality.
In an alternate universe where things are really bad for her, we're both her parents somehow.
Right. Well, we were convincing people, or
Yeah, that we were a couple.
we were a couple. That was funny.
Mhm. But yeah, that's. I think she does a good job of portraying her character's confusion about knowing something's wrong, but at the same time having to lean away from it because her character gets to be the one who is ahead of the curve on catching on to things not being right, more so than Vision. So it's definitely got its fun aspects to it.
That's one of the reasons why I think this is something to do with Scarlet Witch.
Mhm.
Like, I think Scarlet Witch is in trauma denial, or maybe this is during the snap. Maybe this is the world she was in during the snap.
And because it could be, and because Vision's so different, it could make sense that it's not really Vision.
It's her interpretation of Vision.
Mm-hmm. So,
Yeah, it's entirely plausible. I think that'd be kind of wild I gotta admit it is intriguing. I'm very intrigued by this show. I didn't expect that I'd be that into it, but I am. I'm intrigued by it.
I like the old timey ads that they've thrown into the middle of it too, as a clever add to it.
I like the fact that the watch was definitely a Hydra watch.
Yes.
As soon as it says it, I just like mumble under my breath, "Hail Hydra."
Oh, Hydra. Yep.
You have to. If you see Hydra, you have to say "Hail Hydra." It's like a requirement.
Mhm.
Okay, well,
Well, we
I feel like we've kind of exhausted our analysis of WandaVision.
yeah, we got 15 minutes left.
Let's dance.
Mm.
Let's not dance.
Well,
So
WandaVision on its own, I wouldn't say is worth picking up Disney Plus because there's only 2 episodes right now.
right, well, of course. But if you're going to watch Mandalorian, and if you're going to watch Soul from
Soul's really good.
That's part of my problem is that
Pixar.
I agree that Disney is not the world's best, but Lucasfilm is still awesome and Pixar is still awesome. And I am okay with I've been protesting Disney off and on since Pocahontas. So I'm okay with protesting Disney. I'm just not so okay with protesting Pixar.
Yeah,
or Star Wars for that matter.
And you're getting kind of a basket situation where you have to throw everything in the basket out if you throw the basket out.
Yeah. I feel kind of like, I don't know if I want to do that. You know, it's kind of that.
Mhm.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a thought.
My one of my sons has now seen all of the Star Wars things twice, at least some things more than twice.
Yeah, well,
And I rewatched some of them with him, but he's like a walking encyclopedia. He's far surpassed me on Star
Yeah.
Wars because I'm limited pretty much right there between episodes 4 and 6, with a little bit beyond. But
well, and that's, you were saying earlier that you're not so invested in Marvel. I was realizing it's the same thing for me in Star Wars.
mhm.
I'm not so invested that any of these have offended me.
Right.
None of them have offended me. So, but it's only because my investment level is not high enough. I made a conscious decision not to be upset with the Kurtzman saga Star Treks because I had not made that decision during the Berman era and hated TNG and DS9 and Voyager and Enterprise so much that I realized after we killed Voyager or after we killed Enterprise that it's like, well, do you like better not having any Star Trek?
Mhm.
It's like, no. So I was like, maybe I wasn't. So this time I've decided I'm actively not going to do that to myself.
Right. And then in hindsight, you're like, that was wasted time. I could have been enjoying all this stuff.
Exactly. I've been like, I don't know. I think I've been happier than I have been with Star Trek maybe ever. With the exception of the movies. When the movies came out, I was so excited to go to the movies and go to the Star Trek movies and be in there and be part of the culture and be part of the environment. And
it's such a big milestone for them to have come back in that fight.
Right. I remember all of that. And that's the way I feel right now about the Kurtzman saga Star Treks, because I've decided I wasn't going to get there. So, it's Thursday, it's time for Star Trek, I'm all excited, that kind of stuff. It's been really good. And yeah, have there been bad episodes of Star Trek? Well, sure, there have been bad episodes of Star Trek go all the way back.
Mhm.
And really, honestly, the last episode of Discovery was the 800th episode of Star Trek. There are 800 episodes of it.
Now that you mentioned that, I'm trying to think of what series doesn't have bad episodes. And the only one that popped into my mind, and this, of course, is all subjective, is I don't think there's an episode of Firefly that I particularly think is bad. It's kind of like,
I'm not as hot on Heart of Gold. Heart of Gold's kind of weak.
Too much gunplay.
Nah, just the story's kind of wandery. I also don't like Bushwhacked, but only because it's full of jumpy scenes.
Oh, well, you can't handle that. See, I would have actually put Train Job at the lower end just because it's
Train Job's at the lower end.
But it's still not a bad episode.
No, none of them are bad. None of them are bad.
I mean, when you only have 14 episodes, it's hard to have a bad one at that point. But a lot of shows go through
stuff that I just recently found out, though. I didn't know that Inara had a terminal disease.
Oh, is that in one of the comics?
It was in an interview. They were talking to the writers.
Oh.
And, everything was planned out. But the whole point, the end game for Inara, as far as a character went, was that she was taking medication to mitigate a terminal disease. And the end game was she was going to give the terminal disease to the Reavers. But that's you see her during the time during Bushwhacked in episode 2, she pulls out the little vial of something, and we all just assumed that you can't capture a cortisone, so she must have had poison, so you can't capture or something. But it was her medication for her terminal disease. She had a terminal disease.
Interesting.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, a lot of the storylines got rushed and closed for the movie because they clearly were
twisted for the movie.
Yeah, they wouldn't have done a lot of the stuff. They were clearly not heading that direction because it's clear that Zoe and Wash were supposed to have a kid because they were talking about it. through the series.
Speaking,
Yeah.
the comic says that
Just
Zoe,
follow up with it.
yeah, Zoe had a kid,
Yep.
and
Which
she
they would
was
have,
at the time when Wash died.
yeah, which they should have mentioned it, so that would have been extra sad. Because it didn't traumatize people enough that they're still saying it's too
Right.
soon. Too soon.
We're still having problems with being a leaf on the wind.
Mhm.
Well, that one was a jump scare and horrible. that's a combination of nasty. I didn't mind the horrible though.
They just need to add bugs to it, and then
I know,
it'll fit
it
all.
was beautiful, like a trifecta.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's one of those things. Yeah, it's interesting. All of these huge series. We're in season 5 of The Expanse. There will only be a season 6. I am intrigued that they have let the actor who plays Alex, they let him go. I don't know what they're going to do for season 6 without Alex. That's an intriguing thing. For those of you who are not familiar, the actor who plays Alex, it's come out that he's been inappropriate with a number of female cast members, a number of female
True.
fans, things like that. He's used his fandom, he's been using his celebrity to kind of get in the pants of girls and stuff like that. And
Not cool.
you really, really not cool. So they let him go. But now Expanse is centered around 4 characters. And so it's kind of like, well, what you gonna do with that? What are those 4? So
It's like releasing Kramer from Seinfeld.
yeah, they're gonna stick right, just stick Kramer in there. That was one of the things that I thought was hysterical, by the way, was the boss's wife in WandaVision.
Right.
For
She's
those of you who
that
watched that
70s show.
70s show,
Right.
the boss's wife is the mom from that 70s show.
Mhm.
And she looks, acts, and sounds exactly the same. She hasn't changed at all.
Right. And they
Not
got
one iota. And it's beautiful.
they got the actress that plays Cordelia in Buffy for the second episode.
Yeah.
So, and she's kind of snobby and standoffish like Cordelia from her character in Buffy.
Charisma Carpenter.
Yes.
That's
She works on
recognize her.
Yep.
But she's blonde now, so it was hard.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's interesting because I actually did not recognize. I didn't put that together until just now.
Yeah, she showed up on the screen just after I was making some mislined connection between Buffy and Angel and sitcom episodes. And then she showed up, which was really weird because I was
You're
making that connection. It's like, why is she there? But yeah, it was definitely fun cast and what they're doing. And they have a
lot of fun with this. I have to admit, I'm entertained by the I Dream of Jeannie episodes versions of it too.
right.
The goofy, stupid sitcom stories.
The animation's great. And,
The animation's so much fun.
Yeah. And I'll say now, I'm not going to say what happens, but when there's the animation of the bubblegum, the face on the bubblegum made me laugh out loud with that because the face is just so happy.
I agree.
Yeah, so it's if you've got Disney, there's no reason not to give it a spin. Just know that you're not going into an Avengers movie.
Right.
It's not going
You're
to
not
have
going into an Avengers movie.
right, and it's a totally different kind of humor than the humor that you get from the Avengers films.
Right. Speaking of the animation, there were a couple of other things I noticed. One is the set is different between episode 1 and episode 2.
Yes, they moved the couch.
Yeah.
Because the originally when you come in the front door, it's all opened except for the one chair, and it's a nod to the Dick Van Dyke Show because when he comes in, he trips over the stool in the opening sequence, and later on he dodges the stool in the Dick Van Dyke Show, and so him doing the vision thing through the chair is a nod to the Dick Van Dyke Show. Second season, that's not the layout when they come in. but I was noticing that too. They had changed the format, so
Well, they changed the they changed.
it felt it went from like a 40s 50s sitcom to like a decade further.
Yeah, they moved it down one decade.
So I'm wondering if that's the next episode's going to be even further down, and at some point
we did spoilers. We did end this second episode in color.
Mhm.
So
Right.
I'm wondering whether we're just moving. Would be fascinating
Mhm.
if we move
Especially with the Brady
every
Bunch opening and
decades.
all the Avengers.
Well, no, I mean like move through the decades. So
Mhm.
now we're in the 60s, and then we'll move to the 70s for the next episode, and then we'll move into the 80s.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because it'd be fascinating. It's almost like you could watch this show just to see how they made sitcoms. Sitcoms have been a staple of TV
Mhm.
for forever.
There was a point where the I want to say 70s. I think he was with CBS. One of the big wigs was saying sitcoms are dead; they're not going to work anymore. I saw this on a special, I believe, about John Belushi and Saturday Night Live, because they were because the Saturday Night Live was trying to become a thing, and it was at that point where someone in CBS was like, or no, NBC, I think it was NBC, was like, sitcoms are dying out. Nobody's going to want sitcoms anymore because Dallas was out and all these other serious shows. So this guy thought everything was going to go to serious and you weren't going to get funny anymore. And luckily, he was wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'll be interesting if they're doing this throughout like that to see which sitcoms we can connect to what they're paying homage to.
I agree.
Well, we got like 2 minutes, or 2.5 minutes.
We got 2.5 minutes, but after this, by the way, is the Star Trek game.
So stick around for that.
Starting at 7:00 tonight, Mountain Time.
Get a live play of that. Oh, run the ticker.
Kind of wild because I'll be in a different shirt, and you'd be like, "Huh?"
It's like 3 days past. Yeah, run the ticker.
We know that, but the light outside will not be light like this. It'll be dark. It'll be really weird. I think that'll be a very cool, interesting shift in things.
Run the ticker. Run our ads.
Oh yeah, we got to run our ads real quick. So just
yeah,
our shows are sponsored by Kieran Games, Geekway Homes, Shiny Garden, and Your Mom.
I was just going to mention real quick that a long time ago, the Nickelodeon used to have a thing called Nick at Night, and they would have just this whole string of old comedy shows like Jack Benny Show, You Bet Your Life, Many Loves of Dobie Gillis, Dick Van Dyke Show, which I might have already said. But yeah, I used to watch all of those as a teenager, and just thought they were fascinating.
They're really cool.
I miss Nick at Night.
I do too. But you know what? If we don't get out of here now, we're going to be talking over ourselves.
We're going to be walking over Trek.
We're walking over Trek. Okay, guys, that's literally all the time we've got for today.
Right.
I've been Guy.
I'm Troy.
And this is Geek Tank.